This is the Andaman Sea. For the seafarers from the west, here is their entrance to the Straits of Malacca. For the navigators from the east, this is their beginning to the fierce Indian Ocean. Before it was discovered by the Westerners, for centuries it had been the most important trading route for the Arabs, Persians, Indians, Malays, and Chinese. It became even busier after the Silk Route linking China and Italy began to decline in the 5th century due to its deteriorating safety conditions. Trade between China and Arabia was said to be at its peak after the introduction of Islam. The diplomatic ties with China initiated by the third caliph was further strengthened by Hisham Abdul Malik, the 10th Umayyad caliph. There are more than 130 small islands surrounding the Andaman Sea. Ancient Muslim navigators had used these small islands for shelters and source for food and fresh water. As a result of their frequent stops, a new generation of mixed-race Muslims was born. They were mainly from Chinese, Indian, and Arab descent, and still can be found today at many of the small islands. A living example of such mixed blood is Bamrong Samparat, or better known as Haji Abu Bakr Umar. He is now the head of the Phuket Islamic Council. Although these clusters of islands belong to Thailand, the majority of its population is Muslim. There are only 4% of Muslims in this predominantly Buddhist country. Needless to say, boats are the only mode of transportation here. Local people as well as tourists will use the boat service to get to or from the mainland. As the religious head, Bamburang Samparat routinely visits the clusters of islands. He must listen and attend to all the problems the islanders face. Today his destination is Pulau Panji, located in the west. Though Phuket is the main destination for the tourists to this part of Thailand, Pulai Panji would be the destination for tourists who would like to see the other side of Phuket. Bamrong Samparat is highly respected by the islanders. His visit is always eagerly awaited. It is a known fact that his visit usually solves many problems. From generation to generation, the islanders have been living with only basic amenities. But that did not hamper them from practicing the teaching of Islam they inherited from ancient seamen. The Panji Mosque, it's the heart of the island. It symbolizes the strength of Islam. Over the years, erosion has somewhat changed the landscape. The floating house is now a common scenery, as the islanders are trying to maintain their houses. Fresh water is piped from nearby islands, and a generator provides electricity at night. Today, there are 200 houses still surviving in this remote island. Pulapanji is often frequented by tourists, as the way of life that goes on here is unique for Thailand. What used to be a side income has now turned into an industry. Handicrafts made from seashells are highly sought after by the tourists. Not only that, the handicrafts are also exported to be sold in the capital city Bangkok. The Islamic Council of Phuket was given the authority by the local government to manage the interest of over 60,000 Muslims around Phuket. And for the past few years, it was Bamrong who has led the council successfully. It is the council's responsibility to ensure all activities organized by the Muslims are in accordance with the teachings of Islam. Every month, public lectures and fairs are held by the religious council. This program has been successful in promoting the brotherhood between the islanders and the mainland Muslims. The Arab influence on the Muslims of Phuket still continues and is very evident. The construction of this new mosque is financed by mostly Arab merchants. The presence of a strong Muslim community here is a proof that this area was once an important stopover for traders from China, India, and Arabia. The number of Muslims has also increased in the past due to the migration from the people of Indonesia and Malaysia, who also share the same language. 40 kilometers from Phuket, at his house, Bamrong Samparat contemplates his roots. At the age of 67, he wants his children to understand the origin of the Muslim community here, the result of the informal gatherings of traders from Arabia, India, and China decades ago. He himself comes from that root. His father had Chinese blood, while his mother was from India. Much time has elapsed. Sailing boats of yesteryears have been replaced by engine-powered vessels. The difference is not only confined to the ships, but also the navigational tools. Although much has changed, one remains the same: the route that joins the East and the West. This is Riau, a province to the east of Sumatra Island. The city was formed when the sediments of the Siak, Kampar, Rokan, and Indragiri rivers merged together centuries ago. The capital, Pekanbaru, is located quite a distance from the sea and is populated by over 2 million people. It is the busy economic center of the province. Its location on the Siak riverside made Pekanbaru accessible, especially to those who live upstream. The river has been the main waterway that connects the big ships from the Straits of Malacca to the big towns in the Riau remote districts. The same route had brought the Arab merchants here and spread the word of Islam. The exact date of the coming of Islam to this area is unknown. But what is most certain is that Islam was brought here through the Siak River by the ancient Muslim traders. The missionaries on big ships had no problem in getting to the remote areas, as the rivers were deep enough to accommodate big ships. Some parts of the river had a depth of nearly 12 meters. There are many theories of how the province was named Riau. One of them is that it was taken from the Portuguese word rio, meaning river. In the book 1001 Nights, Riau was referred to as Riahi, which means water or the sea. It is also believed to come from the Malay word Riau, meaning a busy and bustling place. No matter how it was named, it became an important landmark for the sea merchants, especially in the early 18th century. To this day, the river still plays vital roles in the lives of the Riau people. They are mostly used as a source for water supply and also for navigation. Some of the areas in the province do not have adequate number of bridges and good road systems as yet. Thus, the ferries have been the main mode of transportation in this area. This is a common scene here. It is busy, especially in the morning and late afternoon. It is a well-known fact that Islam started to spread in Indonesia through trade. Sumatra received the religion earlier than Java Island. A constant supply of spices from the Maluku Island to the west of the country had made Indonesia a prime destination for Arab traders in ancient days. Siak Sri Indrapura, a historical district at the Siak riverside. This was the Siak Administration Hall. It was built just a few meters from the river, a clear indication of how important the river was to the people at that time. It was here that the Sultan held meetings, heard and pronounced sentences for cases brought to him. There were two staircases that were very significant in cases tried here. The people found not guilty after the trials were asked to step down from the hall using the steel staircase. On the other hand, those found guilty were sent to the jails nearby using this wooden staircase. Riau used to be under the Malacca Sultanate in the 15th century. It was during the Sultan Muzaffar Shah reign that some of its districts, such as Siak, came under Malacca's rule. During that time, ships that frequented the Malacca port also paid a visit in this area. The trading activities further strengthened the Islamic tie that had already existed. For example, a descendant of the Siak Sultanate, Tengku Badaria, married an Arab trader by the name of Sayyid Osman. This mosque in Kampar was built with Chinese architectural influences. Built in 1901, it was named the Jamek Mosque. Jamek is the Arabic word for public. It took 3 years to fully complete the construction of this wooden mosque. It is not known whether there was already a mosque on this site earlier. But what is certain is that the site was originally in the center of the marketplace. The mosque relies on beams to hold the important parts together. The 13 pillars in the middle of the mosque signifies the 13 villages involved in the construction of the mosque. The prominent Chinese architecture and the use of Arabic word to name it clearly shows that traders of those two countries had come and stayed here for a significant period of time. Islam had indeed traveled very far. From the deserts of Arabia, it was successfully spread by the sea merchants to every corner of the Malay archipelago. The Malays of Southeast Asia are now the largest number of Muslims in one ethnic group. When it first came, Islam spread like a fire in Southeast Asia. Perhaps it was because of the Malay culture that highly valued the religion the ruler chose. The palace was the heart for the spread of this new religion. The strength of Malacca, an Islamic empire in the Malay Peninsula, which controlled the sea trade during the 15th century, resulted in the spread of Islam to many parts of Southeast Asia. From here, the Java Islands, Borneo, Indochina, and the Philippines began to embrace Islam. However, it is significant that Islam had never been spread through force. The exemplary characteristics of Muslim traders from faraway lands made the people of Southeast Asia become interested in the religion. However, this religion of peace and justice was finally marred by conquerors. Malacca, one of the most successful ports of the 15th century, succumbed to foreign hegemony. It fell to the Portuguese in 1511. And all landmarks pertaining to Islam, including the palace and mosque, were then destroyed. In the island of Java, the doors of the Sultanate were forced open by the might of the Dutch conquerors. Colonized for more than 300 years, the Java Sultanate is now gone forever. In the name of spice and trade, Western powers came and went. Extraordinarily, during the hundreds of years under colonialism, not a single Muslim had embraced the religion of the conquerors. Interestingly, the foreign powers may have acquired the land and ports, but they never conquered the hearts of the Muslims of the Malay archipelago.